So I guess I would tell young people, don't despair. Now, it's true that we need to have a bottom line, and if that's crossed, maybe it is time to go. For now, don't despair.
Okay. 對你嚟講，咩先至係家呢？
Well, I just wrote an essay on that for a European editor. What is home? And that's a long and complicated question. I suppose if I want to appear to be really wise, I would say the world is home. Would I be exaggerating? I hope not. Or I could say home is when I'm with my wife, Yoko. Maybe that's home.
That's what you said.
Yeah. Okay. that could well be the case. Yeah. Is Hong Kong home? Yes, it certainly feels like it because I've known students here for the last 2.5 decades. When I ride the MTR, occasionally students will come up and say, you taught me in 2002, remember? And I feel really happy when that happens. Hong Kong is changing rapidly enough, though, so there is a legitimate question, when will it no longer seem like home? Will it come to seem no longer home? We'll see. Nobody knows where Hong Kong is going right now.
你可唔可以講多啲點解你話你喺呢個時候留低係為咗幫手保護香港呢？
This is, by the way, an excellent Cantonese lesson. I understand what you're saying, but I sure as hell am not going to answer in Cantonese. I don't want to embarrass myself on camera. The big reason that I decided to stay Hong Kong, I mean, I didn't say I'm going to help Hong Kong directly. I'm a small potato. I will help Hong Kong. No. What I really said, I think, was that I have a number of postgraduate students, and I want to see them through to when they finish and get their degrees. That's a responsibility. I've got 7 or 8 people that I want to help get their degrees. Beyond that, though, so far with the national security law, we have seen the Democratic Party and the Pandems suppressed. That's very clear. That's undoubtedly happened. We haven't seen, though, prosecution or persecution of journalists and teachers. Now, there's been minor instances, but basically this has not happened. I am betting that I can teach critical thinking in the way that I have and not be prosecuted for it. Now, will that happen? I'm not sure. No one knows what may come. No one knows what may happen to you or to me, but I think that's reasonable to do. I talk to my colleagues in the mainland, and many of them, with limitations, can teach in terms of critical thinking. I do the same thing. Now, that does not mean shooting off my opinion in the classroom. No, it means getting students to think. That's always been the holy grail of Chinese university, where we are right now. That's been what people have said, and I'll continue doing that. And is that protecting Hong Kong? No, that's kind of an exaggeration. That's more than I could say. What it is, though, is preserving, to me, the values that I've lived by as a professor here. And that's what I want to be doing for the remainder of my career.
好多謝麥高登教授接受我哋嘅訪問。你仲有啲乜嘢你想同年青人講嘅呢？
I need to say one more thing in the context of this, though, that might be useful. My students are often quite upset by what's happened to Hong Kong in the last year or two. But I sometimes tell them that take the long perspective. What's happened in Hong Kong in the last year or two was quite shocking to us all. On the other hand, what's been the worst year of Hong Kong's history in the last century? It was not at all what happened in the last year or two. It was the Japanese occupation, which by all accounts was far, far, far worse. So let's not exaggerate. I also tell them that in the long term, what's happened to Hong Kong, yes, I'm saddened by it, but on the other hand, Hong Kong does belong to China, and there is this 50-year period. It's only natural that in the halfway point of that 50-year period, China would indeed exert more control. I wish it hadn't happened as it did, but this is a relatively natural and comprehensible process. As to whether a young person wants to leave Hong Kong or not, that's entirely their own choice. And I read just today in the newspaper that, a large percentage of young people are indeed thinking of leaving. But on the other hand, look at this in larger perspective. I'm not saying that one necessarily needs to love China if one disagrees with the Communist Party, but I am saying don't act as if this is the end of the world. It's not. It's a long, slow process. I am hoping, my gamble in being in Hong Kong is that we can keep a degree of freedom of expression, even if we do not have democratic representation. If we can indeed, if I can use Google Scholar, if I can read the New York Times, the Washington Post, the South China Morning Post, Hong Kong Free Press, Apple Daily, and so on, Stand News and so on, Ming Pao and so on, then it seems to me that we still do have a society with a significant degree of freedoms. That's what's really important. So I guess I would tell young people, don't despair. Now, it's true that we need to have a bottom line, and if that's crossed, maybe it is time to go. For now, don't despair, because Hong Kong does retain a degree of freedom, and let's appreciate that and protect it.